So today I'm here with Anthony Johnson. He's the coordinator of the 21 conventions. He actually created it in the first place. And we're going to talk today a little bit about the 21 conventions and specifically what we're going to be doing in Poland in just a couple of weeks from now. Welcome, Anthony.
Hey, good. Thanks for having me on, man. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So why did you start 21 conventions? Or actually,
Yeah,
first of all, what is 21 conventions?
yeah, sure. So that's kind of, to me, they're very related questions, obviously. I can answer them both at the same time, I think. So basically, when I was 17 years old, I had found the seduction community or the pickup artist community, whatever you want to call it. And I was very young and I was using that community, the knowledge I found on the internet, and I was getting better with women at a young age. Obviously, it was a problem for me. It had frustrated me socially, sexually as a young man, as a teenager at that point, like every horny young man, right? But basically, after finding that community, being involved, posting on the internet, and meeting some guys in real life, I had realized that I wanted to meet more men like that in person because I thought it would improve vastly my trajectory at getting better with women. That was kind of the suspicion I had based on, the half a dozen guys I'd met sporadically around Florida and stuff in that community. So really the idea was like a meetup group. It wasn't really a conference or a convention initially. And it was specifically too geared for young men my age because that's what I was focused on. That's what I cared about. And I knew those problems best. And that was actually contrasted against the older guys I met, like Socrates and speakers we have now that were 20 plus years my senior, who had similar problems, but were for a completely different generation, Gen Xers, and I was a millennial myself. So I could see the value through meeting men like that and how that improved my life and even their life because they could see different problems or the problems from a different perspective. But even in that benefit, there was a drawback, and it's hard to relate to someone who's 23 years older than you, who's also having trouble with women or relationships or whatever. So my idea was actually a meetup group. It wasn't a conference. And when I put out an under 21 meetup group idea, immediately people were excited, young men, but they also suggested it should be like a conference or a convention. We could rent a hotel room, we could have speakers, we could do all these things, right? And film it even. And so it kind of organically came together with me at the head of it to do what eventually became the Under 21 Convention, which happened the first time ever in July of 2007 and was announced in July of 2006. So long story short, I wanted to get better with women, and I saw a physical meetup as a very valuable thing to do that and to accelerate my growth personally, and then teach other guys too, my age, the little bit of things I knew at that point, how to get phone numbers, how to get makeouts, very simple things, but very exciting if you're otherwise stuck with women and you've had to work for it to understand how to do that.
I think, sorry.
That answers most of your question, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think nowadays with the internet, it's free and it's easy and you don't have to put any effort. You don't have to leave your house and you get all this information, and people have gotten a bit spoiled. They think that everything that they need to know is just a click away or a Google search. The reality is that you're unless you are willing to invest some time and money and energy in going places and getting together with other men, you're never really going to get into anything. You're not going to master anything, and you're not going to be part of a group of people who are working on something. Facebook friends are not the same as people that you've actually had the chance to shake their hand and slap their back and share a beer with them. It's a big difference.
Yeah, and the convention has facilitated that. Like initially, it was a meetup group. It very rapidly turned into a conference or a convention, and then we filmed it. We put the videos out for free and all that. And it's really been this epic journey around the world since then. Hosting the convention, we've had it 16 times now. Poland, that you'll be speaking at soon, is our 17th convention ever since 2007. We've held it all around the world for men and communities in Australia and America and Texas and Florida, and Sweden and London, England, and now Poland too. But more importantly, or along with that too, the convention has grown and expanded. So it covers the things that you're talking about, that camaraderie and the brotherhood and the face-to-face, very mammalian, relationships we build. It's different. You probably are aware of this, but there's actually a lot of studies that suggest and that demonstrate that face-to-face contact changes how people interact. And that's why that's part of the reason why on the internet you see this weird shit on, social media and YouTube. These comments that people would never say in real life because you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bizarre expression of that issue, but a positive one is when you meet face to face, you build and you forge much stronger relationships. You build brotherhood and friendships. I know guys that have met at the convention that are friends 10 years later, literally at this point. I'm mutual friends with obviously, both of them and stuff like that. So it's a very positive thing.
Yeah, this is, I tell a lot of men they're asking questions about women or business or just getting their life in order.
Sorry,
And
I'm outside. My neighbor's cutting the lawn. I might move out back.
no problem.
Let me actually go out back. It's like super
Yeah,
loud.
I'll just cut this out. Yeah. So for a lot of men, I talk to them and say that, you know, the real solution to your women problems and your work problems and all of this stuff is that you need to join a male hierarchy. You need to get into a group of men that you have
Yep.
actual friends. You know, you should have peers and men that are higher up than you, that are 10 years older, 15 years older, that can
Oh
guide
yeah.
you through these problems, because a coach can help you a lot, but a coach sees you once a week, once every 2 weeks. And you
Yeah.
need actually someone that you can go see how this man interacts with his wife or his girlfriend, and actually
Well,
observe that.
I can add on top of that too that it's rare I meet men who have problems with women or difficulties or whatever they want to improve who don't also have that with men. Like
Mm,
it's rare that you meet someone who's well socialized and then somehow doesn't have skills with women. It happens, but it's not that common.
yeah.
Typically it's guys who, you know, they're not in some sort of tribe. They're lacking that brotherhood for whatever reason. There's a lot of reasons for that now, right? The whole culture has become anti-masculine, anti-man, anti-male. And then on top of that, or along with that, you've seen all these male things get killed off over time. The barbershops, the bowling alleys, the meetings, the groups, the male spaces, basically. And
Yeah.
so that then affects these men, and it removes the hierarchy you're talking about, the tribe and the brotherhood, and basically the masculinity that comes along with that from being around other masculine men who will support you as well as challenge you and sharpen you like steel sharpens steel. So that's missing today, and the convention that we do is a huge pushback against that in a very powerful way.
Absolutely. And people who are looking at this, they're going to have to realize that you're not going to get anywhere if you're not willing to invest something in your life.
Yeah,
People will spend months searching for the perfect car. Then they spend no investment or effort to go out and look for groups of other men. And
yeah,
we're lucky that you've put this together, because if you hadn't put it together, there isn't anything else. There really isn't
yeah.
any alternative to this
That's right.
anywhere.
Yeah,
And
there's very few male conferences or conventions like this where it's explicitly pro masculine, pro man, pro male, pro family, pro West, pro America, unapologetically so, no shame and no mercy with it. And yeah, it's rare. There's a few other conferences, but then it's a lot of women get involved, and it removes that's not extremely negative in itself, but it does have a negative impact on the male camaraderie when it's exclusively male and things like that, like, which is what we do. The only
yeah,
women at our conferences are wives, girlfriends, and sisters and stuff like that. Family members basically are very close.
yeah. Which means they have a stake in the success of the men that are there, so they don't get in their way of
Yeah.
success. And
And
that, that
and
is,
they're not customers or, you know, stuff like that. So they're very respectful and they're there for a reason. And they're there with somebody who's basically like, you know, their leader or their chaperone or someone like that, a husband or a boyfriend or whatever.
yeah, and that's a challenge if you get, for example, a men's rights conference, and they have a lot of women
Yep.
organizing, speaking at it, and they might have good intentions. That's not the question. The question is,
Yeah.
it would be like men organizing a conference on breastfeeding. It doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a really good point. There's a men's rights conference, and I've been critical of them in public, even though one of our speakers is speaking there, which is fun. I've talked to him about it, but we both, you know, we have concerns and criticisms that, you know, putting female speakers on the roster, okay, that's interesting, but then at the top of the roster, and you have a lot of these women attending, it doesn't have anywhere near the impact that we're having. And I wish them the best, but I'm skeptical of the positive impact that's truly going to have now as well as in the long run. Which what we're doing is much deeper and more powerful, in my opinion. Not so
Yeah.
humble opinion at all, right?
Yeah, well, I've had you know what? People will say, when you talk good about yourself, you're not being humble, but that's not true if what you're saying is honest and true.
That's right.
If you're the best, you should be able to say you're the best. If your conference is
Yeah,
the best, you should be able to say it's the best. That's not
damn
a
right.
humility issue. It's a just being real.
It's fun to
Yeah,
play with, but I actually agree in that there's actually a saying from Grant Cardone, this kind of wealth money guy, you know, entrepreneur, and he says that if you're not going to toot your own horn, you know, who else is going to do it? If you can't toot your own horn, if you can't, you know, promote yourself, who the fuck is going to do it for you? No, you need to take charge of it and make no apology for it.
well, and people deserve to know if you're doing something awesome. They deserve to know about it so that they can get in on it too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing, I have the cure to cancer, but I don't want to talk about it because that seems kind of like, I'm not being very humble.
Yeah.
And so then people are going to die because you're not on the ball and promoting yourself. If
Yep.
you have something of value to add to the world, you have to promote
Yeah.
yourself. And this was
That's
something
right.
difficult for me to figure out at first because I'm really good at delivering, not so good at self-promotion, and I'm working towards
Yeah.
getting better at that. And for
Yep.
me, even though I'm a speaker at the conference,
Mm-hmm.
I really look forward to the value I'll get out of it from being around other men and picking up
Oh yeah.
things from other men, absorbing their good ideas and getting that
Mm-hmm.
fusion of masculinity, because you just don't get
Yeah.
a chance to do that very often. I spend a lot of my time around my wife and my kid, and so it's just natural when you're a father. And so having
Yeah.
that opportunity to be in a man's space with men is very, very important for us.
Yep.
If you're a married man, you're more likely to stay married if you have good male friends.
I agree. No, I've no doubt of that assessment at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And I know you're a busy man. You got, one conference
Yeah.
after the other. You
Yep.
got your own fun and games going on as well, and your own,
Yeah.
busy social life. So I'm going to let you go
Thanks.
today. And thank you very much. I'm going to put this out as soon as possible.
Yeah,
Okay?
man. I appreciate your time today. And appreciate you speaking at the conference. Look forward to
Thank
meeting
you.
you soon.
Awesome, Anthony. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.